Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and this is episode number, what episode number is this? 124 for July the 20th, 2021. And so let's get right into things, and behind me is my latest creation. You've seen this in bits and pieces, but now it's it's not completely done. The rows have been put together. This is called the Jenny Lane quilt. It's one by Missouri Star Quilt. It was in Block magazine earlier this year. I think, I'm not sure which issue that was, but it was in one that came out, I think, in around January or February. And I had some problems with this quilt. It didn't measure up. I think I told you about that last week. The blocks came out 1/4 of an inch out from the design or the pattern. And I did go in and I had to fudge a few things, but actually it worked out fine. And so that's the top. Now comes the quilting, and quilting is going to be a bit of a challenge because I have a lot of negative space here, both in the background and in the houses themselves. So I'm really not sure how I'm going to do this yet, but and I think when I do get started on it, it's going to take me quite a bit of time, but I think it looks really cool. And I've always wanted to make one that has the little houses and things like that on it. I think they're kind of neat. So it's that part of it is done. And I'll show you what it looks like when I get it totally quilted, which may be a while. What else have I been working on? Okay, pincushions. You know, I'm obsessed with making pincushions with my 3D printer. Actually, I'm sort of over it now. I think I have enough pincushions that I'll be able to select the ones I want to give as gifts and do those. And I'm giving myself lots of time because they do take a lot of time to do. Except right now, currently on my 3D printer is a totally different project, which I'll talk about on my vlog next week probably. But here are the two styles of pincushions that I have created using a gnome. This gnome is called the Zen gnome, and he's a little gnome. He looks like he's, you know, in the lotus position, I guess, or whatever you call it. He's meditating, and I have pins in front of him. Now this was actually designed to be a soap dish, but I altered its dimensions slightly, and I ended up with this sort of oval shaped pincushion, which I kind of like. I had to figure out though how to get this the right size to fit in there. It was a little fiddly. And then this one I like as well, and actually this one is also a tray. So I put this on as a separate piece. You've seen this design before, this little thimble as a pincushion, but I glued it to the bottom of this soap dish because that's what it is. And so now the person could use it as both a holder for clips and things and pins. And I really am leaning towards this as one of the ones that I'll make maybe a couple of more of to give away. And when I say give away, I'm talking about Christmas. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of the game, or trying to. Anyways, those I have been working on. Speaking of Christmas as well, you've already seen the table topper, the gnome table topper, but I did buy a few other designs. I call them elegant Santas. I just think they're a little bit more sophisticated than, say, the gnomes. The gnomes are fun. This pattern is a little bit more, you know, sophisticated. There is some applique in it, again, all done by machine, and I chose this black fabric to put it on because I think it makes these particular designs really pop. Now, black is not a traditional Christmas color. However, you see it's got swirls in silver that look very Christmassy. And when I tie that together with my other Christmas fabrics that I got to go along with this, I think it's going to look very stunning. And I'm going to do it in exactly the same way as I've done the gnome ones. I'm making a table topper from each of those. Okay, and speaking of the table topper, I do have, and I think I have linked it in my show notes. Did I link it in my show notes? I don't think I did, but I should. I had a request for some cutting dimensions and for the table toppers and a tutorial. And I really thought doing a tutorial was, you know, not much point to it because it's just basic blocks. But then I got thinking about it and thought, well, you know, if it's a beginner quilter, those basic blocks are new to them. So I decided to try my hand at doing a tutorial, and I have done a tutorial for making the table topper, the Gnome table topper, and I have put it up. It's in a separate playlist, but you'll be able to find it on my channel. I created a separate playlist because originally I thought I'd just embed it right here in the Idiot Quilter episode, but it turned out to be about 32 minutes long, the tutorial. So I thought that was making the Idiot Quilter episode a little long. So I posted it as a separate entry and call it an Idiot Quilter tutorial, Christmas Gnome table topper. And I'll put a link in the show notes to it if you haven't seen it already. Seems that I just put it up Sunday afternoon and I've had a lot of views on it so far. So it looks like people like that kind of thing, and I've had a few comments saying they would like more tutorials. They take a while. They take a while to make because you have to edit them, and you know how I love editing, not. And so I'll think about it. If something comes up that I think it would be, people would be interested in, then I will do a tutorial. But don't hold me to that, okay? They're going to be infrequent, I think. Okay, so what else have I been working on? Well, I designed a logo for the Idiot Quilter. I had one that I had put together when I did the retreat, but it was fairly complex in terms of being able to produce it as an embroidery file, because that's what I wanted to do with my logo. I wanted to make it into an embroidery file that I could put maybe on a shirt, or, you know, I could send it out to people or something like that at some point in time. So I had to cut down the number of colors because, well, my original design had something like 100 and some color changes, 130 color changes. Well, no, you'd be making one logo badge or patch for about a week. So I altered it. I went into Artistic Digitizer. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with that program. I love to hate it. It's a great program, but steep learning curve. I've taken some courses online about it, and it's one of those things you have to use all the time. But anyways, I did use it for this, and this was the first thing that I came up with, which is a little large, and I had some problems with this, which aren't really noticeable when you see the final product. But there was still too many color changes. I needed to group things around and whatnot. So I made some alterations and I shrunk it down a little bit to this size, which actually is a decent size, but I still had far too many color changes. And when I say color changes, although there's only about 3 colors in this, it jumps around. You know, it may do a little piece here that's in gray, then go to a different color and then come back and do another little piece here that's gray. And so that's a problem. You got to reorganize it in Artistic Digitizer to make it more efficient. So the final version of this is okay. Took less time, about 22 minutes to print out, which is okay. But there is some problems. Like if you notice, my D does not have a little center hole cut in it, and I've just noticed that there's too much happening on this spool of thread because it's bulging out at the back. So I still need to do some more revising on this, but it's coming along. And so, you know, my idea is that you get one about this size when I have it done, and you can put it right on the pocket of a shirt. Merch, as they say. Well, I doubt it's going to become merch, but whatever. If anything, I'm learning how to use Artistic Digitizer as I go through this. So it's kind of a hands-on project. Okay, so what else? Well, what have I got new? I got some fabric. Yeah, new. I have to stop, but I can't hold myself back, especially when I saw this. Now, later today in the episode, I'm reviewing Along Came Quilting, and that is another Canadian fabric store online. Now, I've never dealt with them before, at least not until now. But I was really excited by some of their new releases of fabric that they showed, and some of that had to do with Halloween. Now, first of all, I have mixed feelings about doing Halloween projects. One, where am I going to put them when I get them done? And two, Halloween doesn't last that long. But you know, I have that great big huge wall hanging thing that I did that was all done in the hoop tiles and that, and I love it, and it's up all year round because, yeah, it does not deserve to be put into a closet and brought out for Halloween. It's there all year round. But I saw these Halloween fabrics on Along Came Quilting and they just appealed to me. So first of all, you know, lately I've been getting into panels. So this was the first thing that caught my eye. And just let me unfold it here. Isn't that fantastic? I really like that. So of course, I had to buy some coordinating fabrics in the same line to go along with it. And I did. Let me get back on my perch. So I bought this, which is really cool. It's got some purple on it. And speaking of purple, I bought this. So I think both of these fabrics will go along with that panel very nicely. And so I think I'll do something very simple. Now the one thing I've noticed is panels in landscape mode. So whatever I'm making is going to go this way, right? Unless you put a lot of fabric on it and then it becomes a quilt, and a large quilt. And well, maybe it will. I don't know. We'll see. So another project. Yay. And then I bought some more Christmas fabric. I bought this. Very pretty. And I bought this as a blender. And I think I've had this one before or something very similar to it before. But, you know, it's good to have something like this because it fits into, you know, whatever you're creating. And then, of course, you got to have some more poinsettias. And, of course, what I love about Christmas fabric is the sparkle that's in it. You know, the metallic threads they use. And yeah, so am I done buying Christmas fabric? I have 3 drawers of Christmas fabric. And yeah, I'd like to say I'm probably done this year for buying Christmas fabric. But you want to know something? Probably not. Because I'll see something somewhere along the way. And yeah, I'll want it. Okay, so that. And yeah, I also bought a book. Now, I listened to a variety of quilting podcasts, and one of them was, I think, Quilt and Tell, and I think it's an American publication, but they do interviews with people and things like that. And one person they interviewed that I'd never heard of before, which I'm surprised because she's a guru in the quilting community, called Marty Michelle, and I guess she has a method for, or she's the queen of, quilt as you go. But she developed her technique into quilting in sections. And she had a book. And this book is old. It's been out for a while. Funny thing is, the copyright on this book on the inside cover page is 2004, yet she references something from 2011. Whoa. So there must have been multiple printings of this, I guess. But basically the concept behind this is if you've got a large quilt and you don't want to take it to a long armor or do it on a long arm, you want to do it on your domestic machine, she suggests you plan the quilt out in sections that are smaller, about the size of a crib quilt, which you can probably manage in the throat of your domestic machine, and quilt it from there. And then there's ways to put your sections together so you don't have any raw edges and that kind of thing. So I thought that sounds very intriguing. So I got it, this book. I ordered it from Amazon. It wasn't particularly cheap. I think by the time I got it, it was about $33 Canadian. And it's not a very thick book, as you can see. It's about 50-some, 60-some pages. So yesterday, I sat out on my patio and I read it from cover to cover. I'm still a little confused about some of the things she's doing in it, but you know, it's a little different if you were actually working on a project. But yeah, some great ideas in this. However, this is not for the beginner. And she actually says that, you know. And I would suggest probably to do a trial with her techniques, for especially the techniques for putting the quilt back together. But it's very thorough. It's fairly clearly written, and it might be worth a go. I don't know. I'm having success with quilting my quilts. Yeah, sure. I'm not doing feathers yet, if I ever will, on my domestic machine. But this is intriguing. So I did look for videos of her showing this method, and I haven't found any yet. I think she keeps things very tight for this. Well, she is running a business, so I don't know. But I also saw her interviewed on an edition of the Quilt Show, which I'm a subscriber to, and I think it was in 2019. She's a bit of a character, very sure of herself, very confident in what she does, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I got the book, I read it. Will I attempt it? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. So, speaking of quilting, I took my other quilt, the one with the outhouses on it, which I call my crappy quilt, pun on the word crappy, and I'm starting to quilt it. Now, it's a pretty simple quilt because it was made from a panel kind of a deal. So, you know, I feel I can experiment a little bit with my free motion quilting on it because, hey, who cares? It's just got outhouses on it. However, yesterday when I was setting up my tables, and I've shown you this in a video before, where I go out into another part of my rec room that's a fairly large space, and I set up all my folding tables and my machine out there and everything, so I have, you know, lots of space in front of me and off to my left side to pull the quilt around. But one problem with that setup is that my sewing machine with its extended table sits about 5 inches above the level of the tables around it, and that causes the quilt to hang down and pull a little bit. Not that much, but a little bit. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I thought, you know, I guess someone was telling me about, or asked me something. They saw I guess it was the tutorial that I put up this week, what I had as a table for my sewing machine, because it looked like my sewing machine was, you know, down in the table and everything was level. Well, it's not. It was just the angle that video was taken at. But that got me thinking, why can't I do something like that by lowering a smaller table and for my sewing machine and putting it in there? So I got playing with my tables. I have a lot of folding tables in various sizes, and it works. I was able to do it. So I'm going to share that with you. I did a little short video that I'm going to insert right here for you to see what my improved quilting setup is all about. So I made a slight alteration to my setup for when I want to quilt a quilt. And I got this idea from the fact that some people have sewing machines or sewing machine tables where their sewing machine is sunk down into them, and so that the top part, the bed, is level with the sewing table, which would make things easier when you're quilting because then nothing's catching on the edge. So I have these tables all set up here, as you can see, and I have a smaller table that was adjustable in height. And I have this board that actually my sewing machine sits on this board in my sewing room all the time, but this makes it just the right height so that my sewing machine is now sitting pretty much flush with the tables at the front and to the side of it. And as you can see with this number of tables here, this gives me a fairly large area for quilting. So I can handle pretty much a queen size and up. This is not a queen size that's on here. This is much smaller than that. But, and then I extended the tables down to the left side to give me area off to the left as well. So I'm hoping this is going to make quilting a regular size quilt a little bit easier. So we'll see. I'll give it a try and see what happens. So that takes me to the subscribers quilt of the week, and this is one by someone who is no stranger to us, Jean Eubanks, Jeannie. We've seen some of her creations before, and I did an interview with Jeannie as well. So she sent me some more pictures of her works that I'm going to insert right here for you in a second. But just a reminder, I'm running out. I'm running out of people's creations to show. And remember, it doesn't have to be just quilts. It can be bags, it can be knitting, it can be crochet, it can be other craft type projects, whatever. But please, I need some more. So don't be afraid to send me a couple of pictures of your creations, and make sure that you add a blurb as well with it. Now, I've had one person sent me a picture with absolutely no explanation or blurb, and I've sent that person an email asking for that because I would love to show that, but I have not heard back from that person at all. So yeah, I don't know. But yes, so please, 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 I think it's really interesting to see other people's work. And you'll notice that as I cut here through, and I showed this on my vlog, Walter got me an iWatch for my birthday. And I know some of you were wondering what the mystery was all about. That was the mystery, because he got one for himself as well. And he had this for about 3 weeks, but he couldn't wear his until he gave me mine, because he knows that if I saw his, I would immediately want one as well, because that's the kind of person I am, and I would have gone out and bought one. So I love my iWatch. And bonus, I can control my camera right now with my iWatch. So when I cut out to edit something in, that's what you see me. I'm looking down, I'm pushing on my watch. So I'm going to do this again right now because I want to insert in this spot Jeannie Eubanks creations. This week's subscribers quilts come from somebody that we've seen some of her lovely creations many times before, and is a regular subscriber to the Idiot Quilter, and that's Jean Eubanks, or as I refer to her and her friends do, Jeannie. And Jeannie writes, "Here is my current work in progress. It's a gunrun Urla pattern that I'm making for my friend's expected grandson. I plan to do cross-hatching quilting." And the second picture is of a table runner. She says, "I made this table runner for a dear friend very early in my quilting journey. She sends me a picture every year when she pulls it out for the album." That's a really great idea. Then you know that this person really appreciates your work and that they're enjoying it on a regular basis. So thanks, Jeannie, for submitting those two pictures. Both projects are very, very lovely. So that takes us to what I have in the show notes below, and there's a link to Sew Chatty, episode 17, and we call that What Makes a Good Quilt Shop. And in that video we discuss our online and physical stores that we go to frequently, and why we go to those frequently, what it is about those that attracts us. There is also a link to the Idiot Quilter tutorial making a Gnome Christmas topper. So check that out. And there's a link to Diamond Daze, which is a pattern I'm going to talk about in a couple of seconds. There's a link to this week's quilt store online. Along came Quilting, which is what I just showed you the fabric, where that fabric came from. And there's a link to Your Sewing Teacher, which is this week's YouTube channel that I'm going to talk about. And of course, I have the links to my favorite quilting stores. And just as an aside, if you haven't yet checked out our last Sew Chatty, we put a very extensive list of our favorite stores, places we shop, both for quilting and for garment making and for notions. In the show notes from that too, so you might want to check that out. Okay, so the YouTube channel of the week is called Your Sewing Teacher. Now I have to admit, I don't go to this one quite often. Videos are infrequent, it seems, on that station, but they are good. So I'm going to talk about it right now.
This week's YouTube channel of the week is called Your Sewing Teacher, making a difference one stitch at a time. And you can see here, this is the home screen, and she has quite a variety of videos. If we click over to, well, first of all, let's check the about to see if there's anything she says about herself. She just says, a place to learn about machine and sewing. Projects for everyone. Sew along with me on Sundays. Okay, so take a look at some of her videos. She has my sewing machines, the history of sewing machines. I watched that one. That was very interesting. Sewing haul and unboxing, sewing stuff, questions and answers, making a reversible sun hat. Mom and dad are bloopers, so she must do this with her daughter as well. Good or bad shopping reviews, and hand sewing on a button. What fun sewing stuff I did this week. So she's got a real variety here. She also has some tutorials, easy machine binding for quilts, sewing a fun puppy paws, so there's projects as well. So there's really quite a variety on here of YouTube videos. They're all fairly professionally done. She does spend some time, it looks like, on editing, something that I don't do. And I think it is a valuable resource. So check out Your Sewing Teacher.
And if you have any suggestions for YouTube channels I should be checking out, please send me a comment or send me an email and let me know about it, and I'd be happy to go and check it out. Okay, so what that takes me to is the pattern of the week. Now, I got this pattern free from a place that I don't know if I reviewed this place or not. I have to check my notes. It's called KTR Sewing. It was a site I found when I was attending online the Canadian National Quilt Show. And if you signed up for their newsletter, they gave you a link to a free pattern. And you know me about freebies. I'm always for them. So this one's called Diamond Daze, and it was free. However, when I went to look for a link for this on their site, it doesn't exist. So obviously this was something they were only giving to people at that time who signed up for their newsletter. However, I figured that this came from another company, so I went looking for it. Well, not easy to find out there, but I finally found a site that had it, and I've put it in the show notes. And I can't remember whether or not it was free or not. I think you had to pay for it, but I think it was a ridiculously cheap price, like $1.99. I think that was $1.99 American. But it's also called not Diamond Daze, but it has other names. In fact, its more common name is called Whirlygigs, which makes me wonder, just as an aside here, why did this company that I got it from change the name to Diamond Daze? Or did they? I don't know. Why isn't it called Whirlygigs? Or maybe this is one of those patterns that's been around for many, many years. It is a fairly basic panel or pattern, but has it been around for many, many years, and it has many, many different names, which is probably the case. But anyways, it kind of caught my eye, not the colors, but and it was free, so I got it. So yeah, so Diamond Daze or Whirlygigs, and there's a link for the pattern in the show notes. Okay, when will I get to it? Heaven only knows. Okay, what am I talking about next here? Oh yes, so in this week's the Idiot Quilter Presents, I have a really interesting interview. Well, they've all been interesting, with Fidel. And I can't say his last name because I don't know it. I forgot, but it's in the interview. Anyways, it was a great interview. Fidel lives in Mexico. He just finished getting set up. I think he's still in the process of adding some more things to it. His sewing room, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I would love it. And so I got him during the interview to give me a little tour of it as well. So I'm going to put a little teaser in for that interview right here, but the links for the full interview are in the show note below.
Great. So how did you get started?
Okay, it was by accident.
Yeah.
It was, if you believe in destiny, it was destiny.
Okay.
I was living in Pennsylvania, and I was driving. I saw a garage sale.
Right.
So I stopped, and I saw they have a lot of stuff. So I was browsing, and I stopped in front of a little sewing machine. I think it was a Singer sewing machine. So the guy told me, oh, you know what? I have a lot of quilting stuff that I want to sell. And he's like, are you quilter? He's like, no, I didn't even know what quilting was.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything. So he's like, well, show me. So it happened that his wife died like a year ago from when I was in there. And she was an incredible quilter. So this guy remarried, and the new wife didn't want any of that in the house. So he says, take everything and I'll give you a very good price. And I was like, but what I do with this? I mean, I don't know anything about it. So he gave me a sewing machine, a Gnome MC 9600, really nice machine, tons of fabric, boxes and boxes of fabric, patterns, rulers, cutters, everything you imagine from a quilter.
Right.
But I'm talking boxes and boxes and boxes. So he gave me a really good price, and I was like, well, my mother, she's a seamstress.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm gonna give her whatever she can, she wanna take, and the rest I might sell it or I might see what I do. So I made a deal with the guy. He sold me everything.
And that takes me now to, oh, before I go to that, please, 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 I'm running out of interviews. I have one more interview for next week, and then I don't have anything. I need people to interview. I'm begging you. I am begging you. I'm imploring you. I don't know what I can do to entice you. Just to say that everyone who subscribes to my channel are good interviews or good interviewees. Everybody has something to say. Everybody's journey through their creative process is interesting. Don't worry about not knowing what to say. I give you some guide questions. It's easy. I don't bite unless you want me to. So please, please, I'm serious. I am serious. I would love to interview you. So please drop me a note in email and I will discuss it with you via email about the ins and outs. It's very, very simple. It's very, very painless. Please. Okay, so let's talk about one of my quilts, the Dynamic Duo quilt it's called. And I'm going to insert a little video here for you with that as well. But I just want to say, this was a quilt that was a class, and it was a class done with one of my favorite people, Donna at Ultimate Sewing. And I called it the quilt from hell while I was making it because, well, it had mitered corners, it had inset triangles, and it is in two different colors that blend into the border as well. It was a fairly complicated quilt. Donna likes to refer to those kind of quilts as a challenge. When I hear Donna, and I've taken many classes with Donna, when I hear Donna say it's a challenge, I go, oh my God, it's another quilt from hell. Bit of a running joke between the two of us. But you want to know something? I learned a lot when I did this quilt, and I love it. It turned out really nice. But here's my critique of the Dynamic Duo quilt. This week's quilt is one that I made about 1.5 years ago, and I did it in a class at Ultimate Sewing. This was a challenge, or at least the instructor Donna, she called it a challenge. I called it the quilt from hell. Although the final result is pretty good, I have to say though that this one gave me a lot of problems. Now, if you take a look at it, it did come out pretty nice. My points are all visible, they didn't get cut off, and everything is in alignment, and this was put on point, and that was one of the problems I had with this quilt because I had to do inset triangles to finish it off, and I had never done those before until this quilt. But actually they weren't that difficult, and well, the end result speaks for itself. Now if you look at the quilting on this very closely, it looks really good. It is a large meandering design, and I did do it. but I did not do it on a domestic machine. I did it on a long arm with a pantograph. So yeah, but I thought I'd spend all this time on this particular quilt. I really wanted the finished quilting to look very professional. So overall, this is definitely a keeper. I'm very, very proud of this quilt. So that takes us to the online quilt store of the week, and it is one I've already referred to, Along Came Quilting. They're out in Western Canada, and I was very impressed on many levels with their fabrics. Price is okay, and their customer service and shipping are good. So here's my review of Along Came Quilting.
This week's featured online quilting store is one called Along Came Quilting, and this is one that I discovered during the Canadian National Quilt Show. And so let's just take a look at this together, shall we? So this is the opening home screen, and you can tell that they have done this very professionally in the way that it looks. And up here we have departments, specials, what's new, coming soon. Okay, but you know that I like to check out what they have to say about themselves. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the screen and about us and our story. So let's see what they say. Along Came Quilting started as an online business in June 2002. So they've been open for a while. Opened a walk-in storefront located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Bossy Linda Goy worked as a staff member from November 2002, became a manager in September 2006, dropped the Y, and became the owner and official boss. Linda is notable for her laugh and her sneeze. Once heard, you'll always recognize it, know she's in the store, and of course she still has bossy tendencies. Meet the staff, okay. Our team, okay, it looks like you can probably click on these. No, maybe not. They have a fairly large staff, so this must be a very large store. And they've been around, as I said, for a long time. Here's something, free shipping in Canada for orders $200 and over, but there's a little asterisk, so there must be some conditions, so we'll check that out. And yeah, that's about all they said for their story. Okay, so what do I know from that? I know they're a very big outfit with a lot of employees, so I'm expecting, since they've been in the business for a long time, that they have a fairly large stock. So let's check that out. So we have departments, and under departments we have fabric, pre-cuts, panels, thread, notions, kits, block of the month, patterns, books and magazines, ready-made quilts and items. So they sell quilts by the looks of things. And So Easy tables, that's something I don't know anything about. So let's check out their fabric first of all, see how this is organized. Okay, so they've organized by brand, color, designer, fabric line, style, and type. So they say shop over 5,000 designer fabrics from a whole variety of the big names. Okay, that's a lot. Their minimum cut is 0.3 meters, so a third of a meter. That's interesting because a lot of places won't go much less than a half meter cut. So if you really want only a little bit, it looks like you can get that. Now, their wide back fabric, which I'm looking at right here, and my eyes went right here because of the price, is 108 inch. Okay, that's fine, but $40.90 Canadian per meter for wide back fabric. Now, is that the average price or do they vary? $39.90. Yeah, that's pricey per meter for wide back. Just in comparison, at Ultimate Sewing, I pay about $24. So I don't know if this is a special kind of fabric or not, but that is very pricey. But what about their regular stuff? Well, it looks like this can go on for days. $20.50 per meter, $19.50, $18, $17, $16.50, $14, $21.90, okay, $19.90. It looks like they average around $19 per meter for their regular fabric. Although some of it, well, that's a rayon. So it looks like they do have some variety in their fabrics. Let's just pull down brand and see what we've got. And just out of curiosity, I want to check Three Wishes, because that is a fabric that I have been buying in other spots from $20.90, so $21 a meter. Of course, all in Canadian prices because it's a Canadian store. Not a bad selection. So just looking at all of these things, let's check out the Robert Kaufman. Yeah, really, they're a little on the high end for prices, I think, but they do have a good selection. Now, I'm wondering as I look through this, I don't see anything that says sold out. Now, of course, I've only just glanced through this, but I'm wondering if you click on something and it's sold out, and let's just see what happens here. Okay, nothing is happening here. There we go. I'm wondering if it's one of those sites where if they're out of it, you don't find out until you try to check out. Because nothing seems to be sold out that I'm looking at right now. Oh, they have some of my Clover Wonder pens at $24.99. That's not a bargain. So let's check out their thread. And what do they sell? They cannot be sent by letter mail due to the diameter of the spool. So that means the price for shipping of the thread is fairly expensive. $34.99 for Filtech, which is a polyester, but that's a 3,000 yard or 2750 meter spool. I guess that's about average price. I don't know. I have never bought thread online. Now, their 1,000 yard or 900 meter spool is $14.99. Well, that seems, yeah, about average price, because I paid that for Aurifil for about the same amount. Actually, on the Aurifil, I think I get 1,000 meters for that price. Well, they have pages and pages, as you can see here, of thread, so they have a lot. Can I find out, is that the only brand that they sell? They say, shop our wide selection of thread types: cotton, metallic, monofilament, nylon, polyester, rayon, silk, thread. Oh, they have a brand, okay. Oh, well, they do Aurifil, they do DMC. Well, they've got them all. Let's check out Aurifil, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. And it's the small spools are $5.99. Do they have the larger spools of Aurifil? Let's just jump ahead. Well, they probably do, but not easy to find. Let's go right to the end because there's 43 pages of this. You know, they have the box sets, so I imagine they do sell the bigger ones, and it looks just by the price of the boxed sets that they're probably selling at about $14.99 for a large spool, if they have large spools. Funny, I can't find those. I wonder if I don't know. Let's try search. Aurifil. Hope if I spell it correctly. Fill. Thread. 1,000 meters. Okay, here we go. Yep, just as I suspected, it's in around the $14.99, which is standard price. That's what I pay at Ultimate Sewing for it. Okay, let's go to Notions. What do they got? Adhesive, bag hardware, batting and batting tapes, cutting mats, cutting tools, elastics, fabric care, etc. They have, you know, all the same stuff. Just take a look at their bag hardware, since lately I've been into bag making. It looked like they carry the Emmeline bags hardware. Not a lot though. They have some designs. That's all they have. That's interesting. So really not the place to go for bag hardware because they don't really have any. Let's look at kits. and see what we have here. So we have 29 products, it says up there in kits. And yeah, none of these kits are really grabbing me. Yeah, so not really a lot to choose from there. Let's take a look at, well, they have a block of the month. And it's $119.99. Does that mean it's a kit? Okay, so I guess it comes with the fabrics and everything, but that's all they've got. Again, not finding that too exciting. Patterns. Do we have a good selection of patterns? Well, yes, according to this, there's 428 products. So it looks to me like they've got a huge selection. Ooh, I kind of like that one. Arriving soon. That looks like fun. Yeah, so there's lots here to look for, I think. Okay, that's not bad. And books and magazines. 257 products of this. They carry Block magazine. And yeah, okay. Looks like a good selection of books and magazines as well. Now, ready-made quilts, I'm curious about this. All right. That one, Along Came Quilting, called Let's Fly Away, looks like Diamond Daze. That's interesting. Let's just click on that. Well, it's close. It may not actually be that one. $425 for the finished quilt. Yeah, well, okay. I'm not looking for a bargain here on a quilt because, you know, if you want to buy a quilt, it's going to cost you. We know that as quilters. So they basically only have two. I wonder if these are in-store displays. That's something I haven't checked yet. Well, from what they said, I think they do have a physical store. We'll look at that in a moment. So, okay. The other thing I want to see is this So Easy table. Okay, so this is a brand. They look a little cheap to me in their construction. $709. Yeah, I don't know this brand or anything about them really. So this is a whole line, but let's just take a quick look out of curiosity at this one that's $709. I don't know. It looks like a folding table. Well, I think that is what it is. It's a folding table. I guess, I don't know. I have no idea because I've never bought anything. Only have a little video about it. Okay, so this is a company selling it, informational video. So you can check that out. For $709, I don't think I'm really all that impressed. It might be good. Maybe somebody out there has one of those products and you can tell me about it. Okay, what do they got under specials? Okay, tons of stuff. So, yeah. So if you want to do some shopping, it looks like they've got lots of things to shop for. What's new? Okay, they got their Halloween in. Ooh, I kind of like that Fright Night. So, and that's by the meter. I do like that. This one is what I'm talking about here, and I like this one too. It's a panel. I might have to do some shopping. What do they have for Christmas? It's on sale. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this might be worth taking a look at on here, so I might do that later. And what's coming soon? So these are pre-orders. I'm always skeptical about pre-orders. Well, this is interesting with the hockey players, very Canadian. Oh, this is interesting. I've not seen this anywhere before. This is Canada Games 2. And they have Northcott. Ooh, I like this one too. I might have to do a little shopping on here. Okay, well, speaking of shopping, let's check out their shipping and see what their policies are on that. Purchases made during the Designs and Machine Embroidery event on April 14th are excluded from regular flat rate shipping. Okay, one blow against them. I do not like dime. My personal opinion. I know some of you out there do, but I do not. So I certainly wouldn't be ordering any products from this website that have to do with dime. Orders that total over $400 USD during this event will receive free shipping. Orders totaling $400 USD, less than that, will be charged actual expedited principal. Okay, so this must have something to do with this dime thing. Orders are processed and shipped by knowledgeable staff here at the store as quickly as possible. Processing time can vary, but usually within 2 to 4 days. Okay, fine. All right, lots of details about curbside pickup. Shipping rates, this is what I'm interested in. Okay, So Easy tables. All right, I don't care about that. Canada rates. Free shipping for single orders of $200 and over. Available for single orders only where all items are shipping together and the items total $200 or more. Cannot be used on combined orders or with add-ons if the original order do not total $200. Cannot be, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Tracking insurance of $100 is provided. You can buy additional insurance. We saw that on one of the other sites that I reviewed. And they cover the first $30, the shipping cost, shipping to remote locations. Okay. $14.99 for orders of $30 to $199. $7.99 for orders up to and including $29.99. Okay. All right, there's a lot of stuff going on here. U.S. rates. Oh, please note that we no longer ship orders to the U.S. where the items total less than $30. Oh, okay. We've made this decision due to the labor cost to process the order, costing, etc. Yeah, well, that would have to do with probably what it costs to ship things and the exchange on our dollar. Okay. It's very detailed, and they have international rates too. Okay, so really this is something you might want to pursue as well. So overall, I like their selection. Prices are a little high, a little, not horribly. And yeah, like I said, I think I may come back here and check out some of those specials they've got. I might put it in order. We'll see. If I do, I'll let you know and tell you how that all works out for me.
So that pretty much wraps up this week's edition. And just to say that in order for me to keep this channel going, I need your input. And I appreciate your input. And what I mean by that is I've already put out a beg message here for interviewees. But if you've got YouTube channels that you like to go to, or even podcasts or websites, please send me those and I'll check them out and I'll review them on here. Send me the pictures of your creations, please, with a little blurb. I want to show them on here. I want to make this Idiot Quilter channel a little bit more interactive. And what I mean by that is it's just not me talking about my stuff, but I want to talk about your stuff and your ideas and things as well. And if you have suggestions for topics that you would like me to explore, please put those in the comments below or send them to me as email. And I would appreciate all of that. I really would. So, having said I appreciate or I appreciate that you joined me today for this episode of the Idiot Quilter. It's time to get off. I'm getting tongue-tied here. And yeah, I hope you have a really good week. I hope you have a creative week. I'm going to go off and continue quilting that crappy quilt. And so we'll see you next week. Bye for now.